Most people think that when someone goes quiet, they've lost. They think silence means you have nothing to say, that you're afraid, that you're weak. But Marcus Aurelius, a man who commanded the most powerful empire in human history, chose silence as his greatest weapon. And the people who misread him, they paid for it. Stay with me for the next few minutes, because what I'm about to share with you will completely change how you see silence and how you use it in your own life. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a heated argument and felt this overwhelming urge to speak, to defend yourself, to prove your point right now in this moment before the other person finishes their sentence? Everyone has. It's completely human. But here's what most people spend their entire lives without understanding. That urge, that desperate, almost physical need to be heard immediately, is exactly what makes you predictable. And predictable people are easy to manipulate. When someone knows how to trigger a reaction from you, they own you. They don't even have to be smarter than you, they just have to push the right button at the right time. And if you always react, they will always find that button. Marcus Aurelius understood this at a level most people never reach. He wrote in his Meditations that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. He wasn't just talking about staying calm in difficult moments. He was talking about something far deeper. He was talking about the discipline of restraint, the kind of restraint that makes the people around you uncomfortable because they cannot read you, because you refuse to give them the reaction they came looking for. Think about the most powerful people you've ever encountered in your life. Not the loudest ones, not the ones who always had a comeback ready, who filled every silence with words, who needed to make sure everyone in the room knew exactly what they were thinking. Think about the ones who actually made you feel something, who made you choose your words carefully before speaking to them, who had a kind of quiet gravity that pulled your attention without demanding it. Chances are, they were the quietest ones in the room. There is a reason for that. And it is not a coincidence. When you speak less, every word you do say carries more weight. People lean in, they pay closer attention. They start to wonder what is going on inside your head, what you know that they don't, what you're thinking, but choosing not to say. Silence creates mystery. Mystery creates curiosity, and curiosity creates influence. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You don't have to be the most experienced. You just have to be the most disciplined. And discipline in this context starts with your mouth. If this is already shifting something for you, go ahead and hit that like button right now. It takes 1 second, and it helps more people find this content on Stoic thoughts. Now here's where most people get this completely wrong. And I want to address this directly because it's the misunderstanding that holds so many people back. They think Stoic silence means being cold, robotic, emotionless, disconnected from the people around you and the world you live in. That is not what Marcus Aurelius taught, not even close. This man was deeply, profoundly emotional. He lost children. He watched friends die in battle. He was betrayed by people he trusted with his life. He spent years fighting wars he didn't want to fight, making decisions that would determine whether millions of people lived or died, carrying the weight of an entire civilization on his shoulders every single day. He felt all of it, every bit of it. But he understood something that takes most people a lifetime to learn, if they ever learn it at all. Reacting emotionally in the moment almost never serves you. It almost always serves whoever triggered that reaction. When you explode, you hand over your power on a silver platter. You show your cards. You give people a detailed map of exactly how to move you, how to destabilize you, how to control you without you even realizing it's happening. But when you stay silent, when you observe instead of react, when you process instead of perform, when you respond from a place of clarity instead of emotion, you take that power back completely. There is a story that captures this perfectly. Marcus Aurelius had an advisor in his court who on one particular day decided to test the emperor. In front of the generals, in front of the senators, in front of everyone whose opinion mattered, this man made a comment designed to embarrass the emperor, to expose him, to see if the ruler of Rome could be rattled. Everyone in the room went still. They watched. They waited. Marcus Aurelius looked at the man. He said nothing for a long, uncomfortable moment. And then, slowly, calmly, with complete composure, he continued the conversation as if the comment had never been made. No anger, no visible frustration, no attempt to retaliate or defend his honor in front of the crowd, just silence. And then movement forward. That silence was not weakness. That silence communicated something that no words could have said more clearly. You do not have the power to move me. You tried and you failed, and I didn't even need to acknowledge it. The advisor never attempted that again, not once. Now think about your own life for a moment. Think about the co-worker who makes passive-aggressive comments in meetings, the person who tries to undermine your confidence in front of others, the family member who knows exactly which words will get under your skin, the stranger online who says something designed purely to provoke a reaction. What if, instead of reacting the way they expect you to, you simply didn't? What if your silence became the response that said everything? Here's a practice that Marcus Aurelius actually used, and this is something you can start implementing today, not someday, not when you feel ready, but today. Before responding to anything that triggered a strong emotional reaction in him, a letter from an enemy, news of a military defeat, criticism from someone whose opinion he valued, he would pause, not for a few seconds, sometimes for hours, sometimes for an entire day. He called it the space between stimulus and response, that gap between what happens to you and what you choose to do about it. And he believed with total conviction that your entire character lives in that space, that your freedom lives in that space, that the version of yourself you are working to become, the disciplined, unshakable, intentional version, only exists if you protect that space and refuse to collapse it. Most people collapse it entirely. Something happens and they react in less than a second, emotionally, impulsively, and then they spend the next hour or the next week dealing with the consequences of a reaction that lasted 3 seconds. The Stoic trains that space to grow wider and wider over time, until you can stand in the absolute center of chaos, a collapsing relationship, a crisis at work, a public failure, a personal loss, and still choose, with full awareness, exactly how you want to respond. That is not a small thing, that is everything. Drop a comment below right now. Tell me, when was the last time staying silent turned out to be exactly the right move? I read every single comment on this channel and I want to hear your story. But I need to be honest with you about something, because this is the misunderstanding that costs people the most when they try to practice Stoicism. Stoic silence is not passivity. It is not avoidance. It is not hiding. Marcus Aurelius was not a man who retreated from the world and said nothing while everything around him fell apart. He led armies into brutal, devastating battles. He made decisions every single day that affected the lives of millions of people across an entire empire. He confronted corruption inside his own government. He managed a devastating plague that killed enormous numbers of his citizens. He faced betrayal, loss, and failure on a scale that would break most people completely. He did all of this, and he did it without flinching. His silence was never about absence. It was strategic, intentional, deliberate. It was the calm before the precise, well-considered action, the pause before the words that actually mattered. There is a massive difference, and I want you to really feel this difference, between someone who says nothing because they have nothing to offer, and someone who says nothing because they are watching, thinking, processing, and waiting for exactly the right moment to act. One is emptiness. The other is the fullest kind of presence. One is weakness wearing the mask of calm. The other is strength that has nothing to prove. So how do you actually build this in your own life? Because theory is easy. Practice is where it gets hard. Start with something small, smaller than you think you need to. The next time someone says something that irritates you, a comment, a tone, a look, don't respond immediately. Give yourself 10 seconds, just 10, take a slow breath. Let the first wave of emotion rise and begin to settle. You will be genuinely surprised at how different your response is after those 10 seconds compared to what you would have said in the first 2. Then expand that practice gradually. One conversation at a time, one difficult situation at a time, one triggered reaction at a time. You are not suppressing your emotions. You are not pretending they don't exist. You are learning to choose when they serve you and when they work against you. You are learning to be the one who decides, not the emotion, not the other person, not the situation. You. That is the entire practice. That is the entire game. Marcus Aurelius applied this discipline every single day for decades. He applied it while ruling the most powerful civilization on earth, while fighting wars on multiple fronts, while dealing with personal grief and public failure, and the constant pressure of being the most watched person in the world. If he could build that practice under those conditions, you can build it in yours. There is no excuse that holds up against that example. Before I get to the final thought, I want to ask you to do something right now if this video has been valuable to you. Share it. Send it to someone in your life who needs to hear this, someone who has been letting their reactions cost them in relationships, at work, in the way they see themselves. Someone who keeps handing their power away without realizing it. This might be exactly the thing that shifts something important for them. And if you're not yet subscribed to Stoic Thoughts, hit that subscribe button right now. We put out content like this consistently, practical Stoic wisdom built around real life, not academic theory, not empty motivation. Tools you can actually use starting today. Here is the final thought I want to leave with you, and I want you to sit with this one. We live in a world that rewards noise. Everyone is performing, everyone is reacting, everyone is broadcasting every thought, every emotion, every moment of frustration or triumph or insecurity in real time, constantly, endlessly. The loudest voice gets the most attention. The most dramatic reaction gets the most engagement. The world has built an entire system designed to pull your reaction out of you before you even have a chance to think. And in that world, choosing silence is an act of rebellion. When you stay still while everything around you is screaming for your reaction, you stand out. When you choose not to perform your emotions for an audience, you become someone people cannot easily categorize. When you respond from a place of calm while others are unraveling, you become the person in the room that others quietly look to. The one they trust, the one they cannot manipulate, the one they respect without always knowing exactly why. That is not weakness wearing a quiet face. That is power that has nothing left to prove. That is exactly what Marcus Aurelius knew 2,000 years ago. And it is available to you, starting with your very next conversation. Your silence is not the absence of power. Your silence is the proof of it. I'll see you in the next one.